Hello, everyone. I'm Charlene Hauser, an implementation and professional development consultant here at AOP, and I'm creating this tutorial for you so that you can be more knowledgeable and confident when discussing and demoing Monarch during our convention season. I'm going to start off with some of the background information about Monarch, and then I'm going to move into a demonstration of Monarch. Feel free to review the information or jump ahead at any time during this tutorial. Let's get started. Monarch was released in 2010. The content, the methodology, and the educational approach really follows LifePack, which was released back in 1977. Now, if you're not familiar with Monarch, the important things for you to know is that it was designed to be student-centered, individualized, self-instructional, and it uses a mastery-based learning approach. Some of the features of Monarch include that it is, of course, a Christian curriculum, which is written from a biblical perspective. But unlike other Christian curriculums, Monarch was written from a non-denominational viewpoint. At AOP, we really strive to leave the topics that we don't all agree with to the student's family and church. Now, Monarch provides anytime access from anywhere the customer has high-speed internet accessibility. It's available on both full PC and Mac computers. Now, if the customer is wanting to run Monarch from an iPad or another tablet, we encourage them to talk to our tech support team to make sure that it's going to run effectively with any of those devices as well. Tech support's information can be found on AOP's website, and you can definitely give the customer that information as well. Monarch is full of media-rich lessons which were designed to engage the student and provide enrichments to further their mastery of the curriculum. The assignments include different types of media, games, videos, slideshows, and even different websites that they can go to that we've made sure are appropriate for the age of the student. These were included to supplement the curriculum to be interactive in a fun and engaging way. About 85% of the grading is done automatically question by question. This really allows for instant feedback for the student to be aware of any incorrect answers that they might give and then to be able to correct them instantly. Now, automatic grading is a time-saving feature for the parents as well, since they are no longer going to have to grade most of the work. So you can definitely use that as a selling point for parents. All of the lesson planning is done automatically as well. The parent is going to simply tell Monarch when they want to start and end a course, and then any holidays or breaks that they might want to take, and Monarch will evenly distribute the course between the dates that they enter. Monarch is going to attach a due date for every daily assignment, giving the student a pacing guide of what needs to be completed by the ending date. The assignment due dates are adjustable, and they can be rescheduled at any time during the year for reasons of sickness, vacation, holidays, or whatever might come up for the family. All averaging and computation of grades is also automatically figured by Monarch and kept online for their access for years to come. Every time a student finishes an assignment, every aspect of the grade is updated automatically. This really allows for that student, again, to always know how they're doing in the course, and it also saves the parent time when it comes to grade keeping and reporting. Monarch is available for grades 3rd through 12 in 5 main subject areas, and those include Bible, history and geography, language arts, math, and science. Monarch also has over 100 electives available, and one of our latest elective offerings is in the field of career and technology education, which is mainly tailored for your students in high school, but there are a few offerings that are geared toward middle school grades as well. We encourage parents to look for course offerings at our website where they can really find more information about each of the courses. And you'll most likely have a brochure with the offerings at the convention, but I want to bring you to the website to show you how to navigate the courses. So let's take a look together. From the homepage on the website, you can navigate to Monarch Online and then to Shop Monarch. From here, you'll find more information, of course, about Monarch, including the subscription options. If you keep scrolling through, you're going to find the filters in order to locate more information about each course. So if the family indicates to you that they have a 7th grade student and they're looking for courses for that 7th grader, all you'll have to do is click on the 7th grade and you'll see all of the options that would be appropriate for a 7th grade student. From here, let's say that they're looking for or they want more information about the history and geography course. If you click on the title of that course, you'll be brought into more information about that course, including a description as well as the scope and sequence for that course. If you click on the scope and sequence, the family would be able to explore a little bit more about each course here, including what's going to be offered in the course for the student. So as you can see here in Unit 1, these are all of the assignments that would be included in this first unit. So they get a good idea of what would be included for this unit for this course. Let's head back to the website, and I want to show you that we have more information here as well. I'm going to navigate back to our filter here, and I'm going to take a look at the science offerings here. So again, I'm looking at 7th grade. I want to go to science. You don't have to include 7th grade. You can have all of the science courses displayed here for you if you'd like as well. So whatever the information that the family provides to you, you'll be able to decide what filters are going to be appropriate. But I'm going to take a look at the 7th grade science again. And of course, we have Monarch General Science 1 would be offered for 7th grade. So I'm going to click on that. And now down in the description, in the resources, you have the scope and sequence just like you saw in history and geography. But you also have our science supply list here. This is helpful for the family to know in the experiments what the student is going to need for extra materials. So if I navigate down, let's say to Science Unit 2, you'll see that there's going to be an experiment for the student, and it's letting the parent or the family know that they're going to need graph paper, they're going to need a pencil, and they're going to need Microsoft Excel. So these are the materials that would be needed outside of Monarch for this student taking this course. So this is a really helpful document as well. And if you can show them how to navigate here during your demonstration of Monarch, I think it's going to save them a lot of time and also be very appreciated from your part. Since we just looked at the website, where to find information about subscription options, let's talk a little bit more about subscription options in Monarch next. A subscription gives the parent the flexibility to assign any of the 50 main courses in the 5 main subject areas from 3rd through 12th grade. So if you think about it, 3rd through 12th grade is 10 grade levels, times the 5 main subject areas that we have, including history and geography, math, language arts, science, and Bible. So this equals 50 total. There are 4 subscription options to choose from. First, they'll have to consider if they want to work with an individual or family option. Individual is, of course, for 1 student, and the family option is for up to 3 students. And just a side note, yes, they can definitely have more than 3 students working in Monarch. Then they'll need to make the choice of paying for the subscription either monthly or yearly. Just remember that yearly is the only option here that will allow for the convention discount. So keep that in mind when discussing the options with them. Now, electives are sold separately, but once they are assigned to the student, they're going to integrate with our other subscription courses. Electives are available for 1 student, so that's a single student, and the course would remain active for 18 months. And they would receive the convention discount on an elective purchase, so that's definitely a bonus. Another option for parents to consider is that any course can be purchased individually. So let's say that they're only looking for a 7th grade math course. They are able to singly purchase that 7th grade math course if they'd like. They would get the convention discount, and the course would be available for 18 months to use with the student. The 18-month period would begin upon activation. Now, sometimes we get questions about placement tests or how do I know where my students should start in the Monarch curriculum? Well, an easy answer for that is that we also provide academic placement tests, and they're free of charge, so that's amazing. These are really going to allow the parent to determine where their student should start in our math and language arts subjects. So it's only available for those 2 subject areas. Now, the website for our placement tests is listed here, but you can also find this information by navigating the website again, and I'll show you how to do that. So let's go take a look at that. Starting off on the home page again, all you'll do to find the placement test information is scroll all the way to the bottom of the screen. From there, under homeschooling, you can see that placement tests is one of the options. So if you click on that link, it'll bring you into all of the academic placement tests for all of our curriculum at AOP. Monarch is the first option that you see here. So all they'll have to do is click on that link in order to be brought into the page where they'll create their information. So if they're a returning customer, they'll fill out the information on the left. If they're a brand new customer to Monarch, they're going to fill out the information on the right-hand side. And from there, they'll be able to administer that placement test for their student. All right, so next, let's take a look at the demonstration of Monarch. I'm going to start as a student and then I will come back in as a parent so that I can show you what it looks like as a student's working as well as what it looks like when a parent's working in Monarch. As I'm going through the demonstration, just be mindful that I might say parent or teacher. Really, what I mean is the parent who is the teacher of the student. So sometimes I use those words interchangeably, and I just want to forewarn you about that. So if I say teacher by accident, I actually mean the parent who actually is the teacher of their student. I'm going to start by signing in as the student. So I'm going to just pick Jessica. She's our third grade student here. So I'm going to fill in her information, her username here, password. All of this information is going to be provided to you in the convention binder that your lead will have at the convention. So I'm going to sign in. She's a third grade student, and as you can see, the student lands here on the home page. This shows all of the students' schoolwork that they have for each of the courses that they've been enrolled into. So you'll see that Jessica is enrolled in 5 courses here, and you'll see the assignment title at the very top, and that's what they click on in order to enter that assignment. You'll also see that the subject as well as the due date appears here for each assignment as well. You'll notice that Jessica has one assignment that is past due, and of course this is from previous convention, so that's why it's so far past due, but the student is not penalized for any overdue work that they have. So Monarch itself does not penalize the student. If the parent wants to penalize them by taking points away, however they want to manage that, they can do that on their side, but Monarch itself will not penalize the student. What it does do is provides the student this subtle notification, so you'll see that the due date is in red, just indicating to the student that they should really take some time to work on this as soon as possible. All of the projects that will be available for the student in their courses for each unit that they're currently in for that course will be provided at the bottom of the page. So this view separates their assignments at the top and their projects at the bottom. Now, projects are available to the student from the time that they open each of the units. So let's say that the student was in Unit 1. Any projects for history and geography that would appear in that very first assignment or that very first unit are going to appear here for the student. And the reason why we allow them the ability to see it ahead of time is because sometimes the projects require outside work for the student. Maybe they have to do an observation or they might have to do an experiment of some sort. So we want to provide them enough time in order to do that by the due date that's provided. Now, all of these due dates as well are figured out, started off with the parent putting in the starting and ending dates for each of the courses when they assign them to the student. And then Monarch equally distributes those throughout the amount of days that are available to work in that course. So that's how the due dates are figured out. Now let's go ahead and pop into one of the lessons here. I'm going to just choose the grammar nouns in our language arts course. And as you can see, the student will be able to start working on the assignment immediately. So the first paragraphs that they see here are the intro paragraphs for this assignment, including the goals and objectives. So the parents as well as the student see these goals and objectives clearly defined for this lesson. Any vocabulary that the student has here that might be new is going to appear here along with a play button. So the student can have the vocabulary term read to them for pronunciation and so forth. As I keep on scrolling down here, you'll see that there are opportunities for the student to be able to interact with the curriculum. As you can see, there is slideshow here, so they can click through and see the different slides. And of course, you see more here for places, things, and then there are some other examples provided for the student. There's a tiny tutor, which is a small audio and visual clip for the student so they can engage in all of this. There at times will be games available for the student as well in certain lessons. There might also be videos that they can watch that would supplement the material that they're reading within the lesson. Now, if the student has more than one section of reading, this one happens to just have one section of reading, but if they have more than one, they'll either see the number line at the top of the screen, kind of in that green bar up here, which you don't see because we only have one section of reading for this lesson, or they'll notice that they have a button that says read next section, and they can click on that to navigate to the next section if they'd like to. So either way that they want to navigate is completely up to them. Now, this student has the ability just to work on the questions now that they've read the information. So let's head back there. So these are the questions. The student has 9 questions that they have to answer. And as you can see, the student has started answering the questions here. So questions 1 through 5 have already been answered. The green check mark indicates that the student got it correct. So they get to move forward. Question 6, they got incorrect, and they've exhausted their attempts. I'll show you on question 7 here how many attempts the student actually has. So they can always see how many attempts they have remaining down here in the bottom right corner of the screen. So this student has 3 attempts remaining. The parent sets up how many attempts they want their student to have. So that is something that they're able to individualize per student, and I'll show you that when we go to the parent view. But this student has 3 attempts. This is one of the questions that they have not answered yet. So this is a riddle, and the student has to figure out what the answer is by reading through the information here. So I'm just going to pick one of the answers here and click on Submit Answer. Now you'll notice that I got that incorrect. There is an orange check mark here, meaning that the student has it, they have attempts remaining, but they have not gotten it correct yet. So that's what that orange check mark means. Now, if I answer it incorrectly 2 more times, that's when that red X will appear. So that means that I did not get it correct. Let's go ahead and get this right though. So a piece of land surrounded by a sea with a pine tree or two is the place for me. This would be an island. So I'm going to go ahead and submit that answer. You'll see that I got it correct, so I get that green check mark. So this is that instant feedback that the student gets when they're working through their questions. We'll go ahead and answer this one. I'm going to say that it's a baker, and this is going to be incorrect. I still have 2 attempts remaining though. I'm going to go ahead and choose another answer here. It is also incorrect. Now you can see my attempts are down at 1, so I really need to get this right this time if I want that green check mark, right? So I'm going to go ahead and answer it correctly and then submit this answer. All right, so for this question, this is a writing or a keying, where they have to use the keyboard to key in their response. So this question is a little bit unique where it's not just a pick the answer. This question will be graded by the teacher or by the parent. So this question happens to be one of those that's open-ended that the parent will have to grade for them. So about 15% of that work again. I am going to just go ahead and show you a few more tools that are available or features that are available from the student view. The student can leave a note here. So if they want to remember this for a quiz or a test that's coming up, they can go ahead and add a note. So I can say remember for test. It helps if I can key it correctly here. And I can go ahead and add that note. I can also use this as a place to ask my parent for help. So I can say, so I can use this as a place where I can indicate to my parent that I need a little bit more assistance on this. And go ahead and add this note here. The parent can also allow the student the ability to skip questions that they might need more assistance with. So that is an option that the parent has when they're setting up the account for the student. This student happens to have this. So what they're going to do is click on the skip button, They have to provide a reason for wanting to skip this. Now, this isn't something that's automatically going to be skipped for the student. The parent gets ultimate say in if this is actually going to be a skipped question or not. So I'm going to say skip for this for the time being. And then, of course, this will go to the parent, letting them know that the student wanted to skip this. So we'll review this when we go to the parent side. But now you got to see a few different things within the student view. Another thing that I wanted to show you are some of the tools that are available. So I went back to the reading, so I just toggled back and forth here. It's called open book format, where the student has access to the questions as well as the reading here. And if I go back to some of the reading, you'll see that the student has a toolbar over on the right hand side of the screen. They can choose to print this lesson. So this would be all the reading. I'm going to just cancel that for right now, but it would include all of the reading here for the student. They can also choose to have the information read to them. So if the student is more of an auditory learner where they understand information better if they hear it, or if they struggle with reading, we have an amazing tool called the Speak As tool within Monarch that you're able to, or they're able to take advantage of. So click on Speak As. I'll choose from one of the different voices here, and you'll see, I'm not sure that you're actually going to be able to hear it here, but as the information is being read to the student, you'll see that it's going to be highlighted for them. So it's going to stand out a little bit more so they can really follow along with the voice that's reading the text, helping them with their reading ability or their reading skills. So those are the different features and tools that are available, as well as the different options as the student's working through their questions. All right, let's go back to the home page and I'll show you a few more things here. Actually, first, let's go ahead and mark this lesson as complete because we are done with this now. I'm going to say, yes, the student will get a notification letting them know that anything that they haven't completed yet is going to be a 0. Are they sure that they want to mark it as complete? Yes, they do. So I'm going to turn that in. Great. It gives me a score immediately for this. So as you can see, I got a 97. I have an A so far on it. So that's great. Now, another view that you have is, or that the student has, is the Learn tab. This will display all of the assignments under each of the subject areas. So each of the courses that they've been enrolled in. So Science 300, Math 300, Language Arts. As you can see, there are some projects here. Remember the projects in the previous view that we saw were down at the very bottom of the screen. In the Learn tab for the assignments, you'll be able to see all of them together in one spot. So that's just a little bit different of the view here. This is also how the student is going to, in this tab, they're going to be able to navigate back to their courses in order to do any reviewing that they might want to do before they take a quiz or a test. So if I click on courses, you can see how I'm doing so far as a student in the course. So you can see how much I've completed here of the course so far. If I click on, let's just stay with our language arts course here. Clicking on that, you'll see that I'm currently in Unit 4 right now, and you'll see that I'm able to get the assignments for this unit. From here, I can see how I'm doing so far in the unit, as well as I can go back and review any of the work that I've already completed. So if I want to go back and review that lesson that I just finished, I can do that by clicking on Reviewing Your Work. And then from here, I'm brought back into the reading. I can see all of the videos or the games. Anything I want to interact with again to review before I take a quiz or a test is going to be here for me. I can also go back to review my questions if I'd like. So all of the questions are displayed here, as well as how I did on them, if I got them incorrect or if I got them correct, and so forth. Good. Hopefully that helps you with navigating from the student's perspective so far here. I'm going to bring you back to the home page again. There's two different areas where you can navigate to the messages. So if I want to send a message to my parent, I can do that right from the home page, choose new message here, or I can navigate by clicking on the tab up above, clicking on message, and then clicking compose here. Now the student is only able to message their parent. This is internal to Monarch only, so they can't send this to a cousin or a sibling that is also using Monarch, it will only go to their parent. I'm going to ask my parent if we can do some reviewing tonight. And then, of course, I'm going to send that on to my parents, and I'll show you what it looks like from the parent's perspective when we get that far. Excellent. Let's go back to the Learn tab again. Actually, I'm sorry, let's go back to the home page again. I want to show you that there's also one more view that you can take a look at, and that's the calendar view. So if I click on calendar, now how I have it set up right now is that the student isn't really getting be starting until I think it's in January that they're going to be starting here. Can't remember what I put it in as, but here we go. So January, the student is going to be starting their actual work in January. So that's what I have it set out to. So you can see these little circles are indicating what the student has, how many assignments they have due in these dates within the calendar. But I can also go to the view of the week, and you can see that I can see more detail here. So this is most likely what the parent, or I'm sorry, the student is going to be using if they decide to use the calendar view. So once I've navigated to the right spot, you're going to see that there's more detail, and the student can very easily click on any of these assignments in order to be brought into those. So anything that has that um, the bold coloring here is something that they're able to access. As you can see for Math 300, there's something due on Thursday, January 3rd, but since I haven't completed my previous assignment, which is right here, I can't access this yet. So if I click on this though, it tells me that. So please complete the previous lesson before attempting work on this item. So this is because of the mastery-based learning. In Monarch, we want the student to master the content before they move on to the next content. So they can't just pick and choose different lessons that they're going to be working on. They have to work in a mastery-based sequential order. So that's preventing them from doing that. But they can click on any of the assignments that is in bold to be able to work on those. So if I do that, I'll click here and be able to show you this history and geography lesson. This is actually a project that they'll be working on. So in this project, showing them the objectives again, and then the procedure that they're going to follow for this project. That I can go to work on questions, and you can see that there is going to be a box for them to key out their response here. So after they have completed all of the information that they need to for this project, they'll be able to submit that project for their parent to view and then, of course, grade. A few more things here. Let's go back to the schoolwork on the home page again. So this is probably where you're going to navigate the most, especially during your demonstration in the convention. So just clicking on each of these assignment titles will bring you into the lesson. You'll be able to then show the parent or the student how they'll navigate through there, and then highlight some of the features, of course, like the Speak As. Notice that there's also resources provided here over on the right-hand side. These resources are here because the parent has decided that these resources would be appropriate for their student in order to review certain things. Maybe they're not very strong, let's say, at the times table yet. These extra resources are here for the student to be able to use then to help build those skills. And I'll show you where to set those up on the parent view. Let's go to the help. So there's help available for students, kind of like troubleshooting for the student. The PDF is probably the easiest. I like it the best anyways. This way they can download this right to their computer if they want to. So they'll click on download and they'll be able to say like where do they want to save this file. I would save it right to my desktop, and then I always have it available. So I don't have to be in Monarch in order to get to that help information. But the PDF is really helpful, I think, in showing the students step by step, great diagrams showing them how to do each of these things here. So if they're struggling with, let's say, working on their assignments, they're brand new to Monarch, they're having difficulties entering and accessing assignments. This information will help them with that. So again, great diagrams, step-by-step procedures here for them. This information I think will be really helpful. So make sure that they are aware that these PDFs are here for them. Another thing that they're able to do is change their theme if they want to, if they have a favorite color, or if they really like to play sports and they want to have this background as their theme, they can make those changes here. And then they can change their password. If the parent has allowed them the ability to be able to do that, they can change their password here. And then, of course, they'll sign out by clicking sign out here. So that's the student view. Next, I'm going to bring you into the parent view so we can take a look at what it looks like from a parent's perspective. Signing in as the parent comes from the same screen that the student signs into. So same thing, but putting in the username for the parent. And again, you'll be provided this information during the convention. And you'll see that the parent comes immediately to the dashboard here. So this is their homepage, it's the dashboard. It includes all of the different tabs that you see in the top right corner of the screen here for you to be able to interact with. So the parent can decide if they want to instead use the tabs at the very top, or if they would like to use the widget boxes that they see on the dashboard here. To get started, the best thing for the parent to do is start with the administration tab. So if I click on administration, otherwise, if you click on setup, it's the same options that you'll see. So click on administration and you'll see that I'm brought in here to start working with the different settings that I want to have available to my students that are working in Monarch. So at this level, we're going to be working with the entire school. So this will affect any student that you'd have working within Monarch. Now you can individualize these, and I'll show you that in just a few minutes. So at the school level, this is where the parent gets to make the choice of allowing the students to skip problems, as you got to see in the demonstration already, or if the parent would like their student to have access to the answer key. So after they've maxed out their attempts, if they got it wrong or if they got it right, they'd be able to see the answer key after they have either answered it correctly or maxed out the attempts that are allowed here. The maximum problem attempts, this is where the parent gets to set those. As you remember, the demo student had 3 attempts at each question. The parent gets to make the decision if they want to have 2 here, if they want to have 5 here, if they want to have unlimited. They have that option here. They can just check that box. The parent can also choose the Bible translation that is most appropriate for their student. Anytime they make any changes to these options, always want them to click on save for these to be updated. I'm going to move on to the school terms here. So this will be where the parent will put in the term that is most appropriate for their student. So the term name will be here. They'll title that whatever they'd like to, and then they'll select the first day of this term. So when they want to get started with their student. So I'm just going to say January 2nd is going to be our starting date. Our last day is going to be, we're going to go through the summer here a little bit. We'll go into July. July 31st is going to be our last day. And then I click on Create School Year here. This school year will now be available. As you can see, name of term here. This term will now be available as we are assigning courses to our student. Now I can choose to edit this if I made a mistake and I need to make some adjustments here, or I can also delete this when this term has come and gone. There are different quiz and test options that the parent can choose from for their students. So these are the quiz options here. These are the test options. These are the descriptions that the parent can read through to make sure that they are selecting the most appropriate choice for their child or children. The grading scale is set by the parent as well. So as you can see, the grading scale is here for the parent to be able to work and adjust if they'd like to. They also have the different weightings. So if the parent would like, as you can see here, the tests are weighted at a 50%, meaning that the unit score is going to be predominantly based on the test score. That is an option that the parent has here. So they can make any adjustments that they'd like to here. They can click on save, and these will now be applied for their students working in Monarch. One of the newest features that we have available, and this was available last year as well, are the notifications. The parent can get an email from Monarch letting them know if a student is past due on 5 or more assignments. There's more info here as well. If they're below a certain threshold, they can be notified about that. If they'd like to have a monthly or a weekly progress report, those can also be sent directly to the parent. Some of the parents might not have contact with their student every day in Monarch, like thinking about those high school students that are working more independently. So these notifications are awesome for parents that want to check in when it's needed, but maybe don't want to be checking in every day with their student. Also, we have the if a student puts a note or if they message their teacher within Monarch, there's a notification here that can be sent to that parent as well. So they'll simply turn that on if they'd like that available. Any of these settings can also be individualized per student. So we were just talking about our entire school. Student setup includes the ability to individualize. So really to get started here, we're going to add any new students that we need to for our family. All of our students are here. When we have those students ready to go here, as you can see, we have quite a few students. So this is Jessica that we were working with earlier. I'll go ahead and use her as my example. So if I click on Jessica, I am able to see that I can change her password at any time. I can also make adjustments to that dashboard. So if you remember seeing like the times table option on the dashboard for Jessica, this is because it's turned on here. I can also choose to turn that off if I'd like to. You also have a preview, or the parent has a preview of each of these options so that they can be very familiar and comfortable with these options that they're selecting for their child. Let's take a look at the assignment options. Now, any changes that I make here will only affect Jessica. They will not affect any siblings that are also working in Monarch. So these are just for Jessica. This is how they can individualize for this one student. So maybe Jessica needs to have 4 attempts, or maybe she just needs 2 attempts. I can make those adjustments here as the parent for her. Make sure I click on save in order to make the updates take effect. And the quiz and test options are here also for Jessica. The grading scale as well as the weightings are here. And then notifications just for Jessica now. These settings again can be adjusted one more time, and that would be per course. So I'm going to bring you into the curriculum setup here. And you'll see I'm going to navigate down to Jessica again. So these are the 5 courses that Jessica was enrolled in. You'll see that there's setting options for each of these courses. So let's use our language arts because we use that in our demonstration. I can look at the settings here for Jessica. Now, if I go to the assignment options, you'll see that it will only affect language arts and only for Jessica. So I can make changes here to allow for her to be able to skip problems, or maybe for this course, I don't want her to skip problems, so I can uncheck that. If I want her to have 2 attempts here instead of 3, all the rest of her courses, she would have 3 attempts, except for language arts if I make this change here. Quiz and test options are available, and then the grading scale as well can be adjusted per course. Now, within the curriculum setup is also where the parent gets to decide which courses are going to be assigned to their student, and that's with the active subscriptions. So I click on active subscriptions. You'll see here that we have our family yearly subscription here, and I can assign courses to Jessica if needed. So if I need her to take another course, I can click on assign courses, and you'll see that she's been enrolled obviously in all of the 3rd grade level courses already. Maybe in 4th grade, for whatever reason, maybe she is needing to have the history and geography course for 4th grade as well. I can simply check that option here, and then I would select the term that I want Jessica to be working in, or I can also come down here and make a custom term. So maybe if you think of this a little bit backwards, maybe the student needs to do some review work in 3rd grade before they get to 4th grade. Maybe I'd be enrolling her into the third grade history and geography, but only certain units would be included that I would need for her to be enrolled in. I can create just a custom term. Maybe I'm going to have her finish that review work within a month time frame. So I would select from the calendar. Maybe in December is when I'm going to have her work on that, and I'm going to have her finish in January. She's going to have until January 18th to finish any review work. So this is how you can customize here. I am going to just choose the that original term that we created when we used or when we created our term a little bit earlier. And it looks like I may have selected the year previous, so I apologize about that if I made that mistake but didn't realize it. I'm going to use the correct year for this now, though. And you'll also see that the parent is able to make this a block schedule. So if they don't want their student to work in certain days, or they maybe want to include weekend days as well, they can do that or make that adjustment here. So maybe on Tuesdays, our family has a lot going on. We meet with our homeschool co op. We have swimming lessons. We do field trips on Tuesdays, whatever it may be. You can remove Tuesdays at this point where the student won't have anything assigned for this course on Tuesdays. And then I would click on Assign Now. From there, the student would be enrolled in the course. The due dates would be determinant on the starting and ending date here, how many working days are between these two dates here, and then how many assignments are included in that course. And that's how Monarch figures out the due date. So it tries to equally proportion the due dates between the starting and ending date with the days that are allowed, as well as the assignments for that course. Navigating back to the homepage, you'll also notice that the parent is able to monitor their student from here. Notice that any new messages that have come in from students that have been working are going to appear here. As you remember, we sent a message to our parent asking about reviewing for a quiz. So parent can easily access that by clicking on the link. They can then reply to the student if they'd like to. And send that reply. They'll also see all of the messages that have been sent in the past if they'd like to. If they haven't been deleted yet, they'll be appearing here in their inbox. Any sent messages will be appearing here in the Sent Items tab, so the parent always has this information to go back and access. If they'd like to create a new message, they can click the Create Message button in order to select which student they'd like to send this message to. So let's just stick with Jessica here. And then I can send that on to the student as well. The student will receive that message and they'll be able to reply back to the parent. There's a lot of communication that happens within Monarch where, the parent might not have time to sit down with a student every day again, like we talked about earlier. They can do a lot of messaging from Monarch right from within the program. Now, one really great thing about Monarch too is that the parent does not have to necessarily be home to get these messages. So if the parent works outside of the home, if they're able to log in from wherever they are into Monarch, they can receive these messages from wherever they're at as well and reply back to the student. Let's go back to the home page again, and I'll show you a few more things here. So talked a little bit about monitoring students within this dashboard view here. As you can see, we can click on Jessica's grading tasks. So if we want to see, she skipped something, we want to go take a look at it. The grading tasks are here for Jessica. So you can see that she has a paragraph that we need to grade as the parent. So I can click on that, brought into that student's work here. And from here, I can assign the score for the student. So at this point, it says to rewrite the sentence, remember to use capital letters and periods correctly. That looks great. So I'm going to give my student, now the parent gets to decide how many points this is worth. So I'll just say out of 10, Jessica got a 10 here, and I'll click on grade in order to grade this assignment for the student. Now, if the student didn't do such a good job here, the parent also has the ability to clear all of the attempts that the student has had on this and reassign it to them. So starting over from scratch. Another option that they have is the rework option. That is going to save a draft, so whatever the student has completed here, and then reassign it to them. So it's giving them another chance, but they're also able to see the work that they've already done. So that would be the rework option there. The teacher can also choose, and again, parent teacher, remember that the teacher is the parent or the parent is the teacher. The parent can choose to skip this question for the student as well. So maybe there's a reason that the parent decided that the student doesn't need to answer this, they can choose to skip this question for them. All right, let's go ahead and assign this grade for the student. Click on OK. Great, now the student has that grade all updated in Monarch. Remember that we asked the parent if we could skip a problem as well. And I told you that it was really the ultimate say of the teacher or the parent to decide if that is appropriate for this question. So there was a skip problem in the example that I showed you in the student view. I'm going to click on that as the parent now. It's going to bring me in directly to where the student asked to skip this. Also, wanted to show you the split screen here. So if you remember the reading, there's a split screen so the parent has access to all of the reading that the student did, as well as all of the questions that they had to answer for this assignment. Now, the pink one is the one that we were currently working on or looking at where the student asked to skip this. So now the parent can see the information, the question, as well as what the student has done so far on this. And they can make the choice to either clear this or to allow for that teacher skip. So maybe the parent decides that, yes, you can go ahead and skip this one. You would click on teacher skip at that point. Now, there are a couple of other options that I wanted to show you as well. If the parent wants to print this, so this would be like a review for the student with the answers that they've already supplied, you can click on Print Problem Review. I'll show you what this looks like. So what it does is prints off exactly how the student answered here so that they can use it for a review for a quiz or a test. There is also an option where you can, or the parent can choose to print the problems blank. This would be like a worksheet for the student. So if there's a reason that the parent wants to print this so that the student can work on it with a pencil or a pen or whatever they want to use on their side, they do have that option as well. And I wanted to be sure to show you that. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and skip this one for the student. And another thing I should show you, the notes are also available for the parent to review here. So if there were notes the student added to any of the questions, they will appear here in the notes. So now I can see what Jessica put in. She wants to remember this for the test. And she said that, then she doesn't understand this. Can we work on this during lunch today? I can add a note back to Jessica if I'd like to from here. That is an option that you have as well as when you're looking at the parent view. But I'm going to go ahead and skip this one. Click on OK. Perfect. So now this question has been skipped, grade has been updated, and the grade will stick here for the student. Another thing that the parents have access to, as well as the students, if you remember, was the Speak As tool. So that Speak As tool is available here for the parent as well. So if you have a parent who is an auditory learner or struggles with reading themselves or maybe is not a native English speaker, this could be a really helpful tool for any of those situations. So the parent would just highlight the information that they want to have read to them. They'll use that Speak As tool the same way that the student does by selecting the voice and then clicking on the play button. All right, I'm going to return to the assignments. Excellent. And as you can see, let's see here, you can also work with any of the other students. So maybe you want to check in with Holly. She's our middle school student. And you can see any grading tasks that Holly has here as well as Abraham. So they're all contained here, very easily accessible by the parent. Let's work with Jessica again. I'm going to show you the assigned work. There are things that you can do within the assigned work as well. I'm going to first condense everything so you can see the 5 courses that she's already been enrolled in. Now, within each of these courses, let's stick with our language arts course. You can see how Jessica's doing in the course so far. So if I click on the main title of that first unit, you can see all of the weighted grade, including the tests, quizzes, and lesson grades here. So she has a 99.77. That's an A. That's awesome. So good job, Jessica. Going into unit 2, if I click on the title of that unit again, you'll see the weighted grade is there as well as how she's done on each of the assignments down below here. Now, if we find an assignment that she didn't do so well on, like the spelling quiz, I can click on it and I can be brought in to review the student work, view the answer key, or clear the work completely. So if I click on clear work, this would allow Jessica another opportunity at this assignment. So that is an option that you have as well. Let's get into a unit that she hasn't quite completed yet. Let me see here where she's at. Looks like she is actually in unit 4 right now. So wanted to show you, and it's already set up this way, so I'm going to unblock this really quickly so I can show you the reverse of this. All right, so in unit 4, that is currently where Jessica is working. If I want Jessica to be blocked from moving into a quiz, so maybe I want to do some review with Jessica before she gets into any of her quizzes or tests, I'm going to come to the next quiz, so whatever's coming up in the future for Jessica, quiz 2, and I'm going to block this lesson. From here, Jessica won't be able to access this quiz without letting me know. So she has to ask permission to enter the quiz. And this is where we're going to do a review then. So maybe we do a verbal review like at lunchtime or something like that. That way Jessica can really let me know that she's ready to take this quiz or test. So that is an option that parents have. They can also unassign. So maybe this grammar verbs, maybe we're going to unassign this lesson. So maybe for whatever reason, I've decided that I don't want my student to complete this, I can go ahead and unassign it here. Now, if I choose to reassign it by clicking on assign, I get to select the due date for this. And parents will ask you this sometimes if they can choose the due dates. And yes, they can. It's a little cumbersome for them because they have to unassign it and then reassign it, but it is an option. So they definitely can choose the due dates. So that's kind of a feature that might want to keep in mind that they do have that choice. I want to take you into the calendar as well. So questions come up a lot about rescheduling work, like can they reschedule work? What if something happens and they are getting behind in the work? If that happens, the parent does have the ability to reschedule the courses, and they do that in the calendar tab. So I can click on reschedule all courses. I would select the student that I want to work with. So of course, we're working with Jessica here. These are her 5 courses that she's currently enrolled in. If we want her to get started, let's say that this date has come and gone. I know that it's a future date, but we'll pretend that it's come and gone already. Maybe she needs to be rescheduled, so she's going to start January 7th instead. And maybe when we get to that date, we realize we don't have time on Wednesdays to work in Bible anymore. So I'm going to remove that day. So no longer will Monarch assign due dates on Wednesdays for this course. So I'm going to click on Save Changes in order to update that. Now the due dates will be reflective of starting on January 7th rather than on January 2nd. So if a student gets behind in their work, the parent can always reschedule any future assignments for the student. So that's a really great feature because we have that issue come up often with parents and students. So they are able to do that. I wanted to show you that. Let's go back to our calendar again. I also wanted to show you that Monarch doesn't know if the family is going to be taking a vacation, right? We set up the term earlier. You got to see how you select the starting and ending date, and then that's all Monarch knows at this point. Let's say on November 30th that we have something that's coming up. We don't want Abraham and Holly to have assignments on that day. All of the students would be affected if you choose the calendar date up above. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to say this is a field trip day, and the event is going to end on the 30th, so it's only a 1 day. I'm going to make this a non-school day so you can see what happens here. So I'm going to make this a non-school day. It is going to reallocate all of these assignments on the 30th to future dates from here. Great. So now you can see that nobody has any work due on the 30th of November. So that's what you can do with the calendar. So I'm going to restore those days. I'm going to clear that school event, and I'll show you how you can work individually with each student as well. So you can do the same thing that I just showed you, but maybe you only want to affect Abraham and not Holly or Jessica. So it's going to restore these assignments first, and then I'll show you what you're able to do. So if Abraham has something going on, but the other students do not, I can do the same thing that I just did. This will only affect the one student, and I can make that a non-school day just for Abraham. So the rest of the students will remain unaffected by this, but Abraham will show no assignments due that day because he has a field trip. Other things that you can do, like say for Holly, let's just take her for example, maybe she is going to the zoo, which would be another field trip, but we'll just say she's going to the zoo. She's only going to be gone for like 2 hours, so we're going to leave all of her assignments still available on that day. So I'm going to make it a school day this time. It's just going to update the calendar so I can, as a parent, can look at this one calendar and see what's going on with my kiddos for that day. But you can see that Holly's assignments are still going to be due that day, but she is going to the zoo that day as well. That's how you can work with the calendar, how the parent gets to work with the calendar. We get questions about reports a lot as well. So when the parent is starting to work with a report, they need to select the student that they want to work with first. So we'll use Jessica again. What information do you want to display in that report? We're going to choose both for that, but the parent has that option. And then they can choose either a term that's already been created, or they can use a custom option where they can show just a bit of time. So maybe let's go back to January 19th. We're just going to use a short period of time here to the 27th hasn't happened yet. So the 26th, and I am going to show her daily work report. So they get to choose from these options here. So report card, grade report, or the daily work report. Click on run report, and you'll see that obviously Jessica has worked on one assignment, which is what we did together in our demo. And you can see the grade that she received on that. This is how a parent is going to run the reports. It's very easy process. They just have to make sure that they're selecting the correct either term or choosing a custom option that fits the time frame that they want to display that work. So those are the most important things. Help is also available for parents. So we have the teacher's guide here as well as the student guide. So you also have access to the student guide from here and therefore can help the student troubleshoot on any issues that might come up for them. But the teacher guide is here. It's very similar to the student view or student guide. Obviously, if you're looking at customized settings for your school, things that we just covered, these are, again, the step-by-step directions on what you'll do. And then, of course, they provide great diagrams for the parent. All that troubleshooting can come through these PDFs if they'd like to. Otherwise, they can always call in a customer service or tech support if they have additional questions. I'm going to bring you back to the homepage one more time and take a look. Remember that any of the tabs that we talked about, any of the screens that you saw during the demonstration can all be accessed from the widget boxes here on the dashboard as well. So just becoming familiar with what you see here, just know that there are multiple ways to get to the same ending point by navigating in the different ways available. Other things that I wanted to show you is that you're able to change the theme for the parent as well. So the parents have a lot more theme options here, but if you are interested in changing the theme as a parent, they are able to do that. Wanted to make sure that you knew how to do that as well. I don't think it'll come up very often with a demonstration, but I think it's kind of fun to know that you can change the theme here. I hope that the information provided will help you be more confident as the convention season approaches us. If you have any questions, any additional questions, please feel free to reach out to myself or Katie or any of Kelly's team in order to get more assistance. Thank you and have a great convention.